The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. Why don't we just wait here for a little while, see what happens?
Do you want to die, Sidney?
For England, James? No.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
Look what you did to him!
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
As you can see, I have here.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Macho Movie Madness. I am Brandon, and alongside me, as always, is Andrew. We have lost our crew, Andrew. We've lost the rest of the crew.
Oh, back to the OGs.
back to the OGs.
Yeah.
So that's all right though, because we've got a little something special for us, baby. We got a little Wrestlemania talk today.
Oh yeah.
I think we are going to go. I know we're going to go back to Scream. We will be going back to the Scream talk probably the next episode, I would think. We just had to do it. We got with the scheduling issues and stuff. Just hard, it's in it, and that's all good. It's all good. So, big news though. We had a big weekend this past weekend with WrestleMania, and we decided to go ahead and watch that and review that, and also big news coming out of the WWE and a purchase, I guess a purchase, merge, whatever, and we'll talk about that a little bit too.
And the ramifications of that.
And the ramifications of that. And after, we'll talk about some Scream stuff probably in the next one, and return to some movie talk on a Macho Movie Madness.
But we've been wanting to do this for a while. We've been wanting to talk wrestling for a while.
We have.
For years, actually. And perfect opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it worked out really well. Yeah, something we've all been very passionate about. We've all been in and out of it for decades now. It kind of pulls us in and then takes us back out, and then we come back off and on. And there's still some good in wrestling today. We'll get into that a little bit later, but there's a lot of bad. So what I think we should do, and we'll just make this a special WrestleMania episode, like I said, the WrestleMania edition, we'll call it, and we'll just do wrestling today since we've lost the rest of the crew on the Scream talk. So we'll move back to that next week. I think we should open it up before we get to our WrestleMania segment. We should open it up with kind of a little bit of history, how we became wrestling fans in the first place, and when we became wrestling fans. Andrew, what was the first memory of you watching wrestling, or maybe what was the moment in time that you became a huge wrestling fan?
So I was aware of wrestling through the Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling cartoon, and I think I watched that on Saturday mornings in the mid '80s. And I never actually watched a wrestling show until, I can tell you the exact moment. It was the main event, February 5th, 1988. I heard some kids on the school bus talking about Hogan and Andre, and it was going to be on NBC. And so I tuned in to see it.
Yeah.
And that match was great, but it's the match before it that got me. And it was the Honky Tonk Man and the Macho Man Randy Savage that pulled me in, the smaller guys, and the drama and everything. And of course, the main event had drama. I was hooked. The next morning was a Saturday, of course, and I found the NWA. You're talking about the territories hadn't died yet, So World Class was on ESPN
Right.
and New England Sports Network, and you had AWA.
So it's
You had
everywhere at least.
4 different NWA shows. Depending on whether they were showing a house show on New England Sports Network or Madison Square Garden, you might have 3 WWF shows on a Saturday. I could sit and watch wrestling all Saturday if I wanted to, pretty much back then.
That's cool. That's awesome.
And I followed
That's
the
awesome.
product even through the dark ages, 93, 94, 95, up until 2007 when they killed off Vince McMahon in that stupid limo explosion. And then like
The
a week
limo?
later,
Yeah.
like a week later, Benoit ends up killing his family, and that kind of did me in. And
Yeah.
it was sad because they did a house show 45 minutes from where me and you live up at the college. And I saw Benoit like a week or two before he died. And, you know, it's kind of sad knowing you saw him in one of his last moments. But, you know, before all that happened.
Yeah.
But I've not really came
What he
back
was
all the
going
way.
through.
Yeah, I've not really came back all the way since 2007. I've caught maybe 5 shows since then. I catch WrestleMania every year. I catch the Rumble every year. But, like, as far as Raw, nothing.
Yeah, just don't. Yeah. There is good and there's a lot of bad. And it depends on who you are. I think the PG era and beyond, the universe era, whatever, I think that's it's garnered a lot of money and I think a lot of normie fans, I guess, for lack of a better term right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you need. I mean, you can't just tackle a niche all the time as much as a niche crowd like myself would love them to cater to me all the time. I get it. From a business standpoint, I totally get it, but it does make for a weaker product. And I also think that obviously not having real competition has really hurt the business for the last decade or so. Well, I guess you say 2 decades now. Well, I don't know. You can say that because the product hasn't really been bad for 2 decades yet.
No, there's been some good stuff here and there
consistently. Yeah, and there's still some good just here and there. You know, for me, I don't honestly remember the exact date or year. I do kind of remember the year because I remember some guys talking about it at school, and they, you know, some guys would have a couple guys would have a WWF magazine on the bus, and you know we're gonna show our age difference here, but this was like 98, so it was about 10 years later for me. And you know, on the school bus, these guys had Raw magazine, and you know, and I remember this one dude giving me his poster out of the middle of the magazine, and in one side it was a wrestling magazine. It wasn't like a WWF magazine; it's a wrestling magazine, because on one side it was Stone Cold Steve Austin, on the reverse side of the poster was Goldberg with his United States Championship and I remember that, and it's pretty funny because there was a text bubble out of Steve Austin's mouth, and that one is the other side, jackass. And it was other side, jackass, and the other side was Goldberg, which I love both of those guys. But of course, you know, for me, wrestling pulled me in with the rise of Steve Austin, because you know, I was getting old enough to really recognize what was going on. Everybody was, you know, Steve Austin was pulling everybody in. The Attitude Era was pulling in mostly college kids and late teens, early 20s. That was kind of their demographic at the time, which was good because the product needed to become more edgy to compete with NWO and stuff like that WCW was doing. And they went off the rails and got pretty crazy at times. But yeah, just like so many, I was drawn in by Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so it had been the end of 98. I remember kind of checking out highlights and stuff. I think ESPN or somebody even had highlights of that Buried Alive match him and Undertaker had at Rock Bottom at the end of 98. So, but I didn't start consistently watching until right after that. So it'd have been end of 98, beginning of 99 when I really started watching Raw religiously. And then I just, you know, you start watching that and you see these guys come out, and like just, that was where the cool kids played, you know. So like it was just off to the races for me. I can't remember any other moment we did rent a lot of VHS tapes back in the day, you know, from our local video stores, and and they had they ended up getting some of those Attitude Era pay-per-views and WCW pay-per-views. So I caught it's a Hog Wild in 97 or 8 or whatever, and I caught like King of the Ring and Saint Valentine's Day Massacre and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. Just fell in love with it that way. So I came in at a time, and this is just depending on who you are, that was a little different. Jim Cornette and a lot of others would say it killed the wrestling business. And I, as an adult now, understanding what it used to be, I don't disagree. I mean, kayfabe was dead with, I think, especially right after the Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah. I can totally identify with you with that Attitude Era thing. I got out of high school in 97. I watched it through the Montreal Screwjob, and then I wasn't completely turned off, but I didn't watch it much after that until I met what would become my wife. And I remember in her bedroom, she had a life-size poster of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so we started watching it together about, in the fall of 99. I can remember it was about the time of Stephanie McMahon's wedding and everything. And
yes.
I had a cousin who owned a computer business, and don't tell anybody who may be listening, but he had like an illegal satellite hookup. And me and her, I can remember we would watch all the pay-per-views for free over there and play dominoes and stuff.
I knew a few people like that.
Yeah. So the other day we were talking, and I was telling you I'm watching like Backlash 2000 for the first time. That brought back a lot of memories because I can remember watching that with her like first time it aired.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm with you on the Attitude Era. I can dig it.
Good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy time that I have so much love for, because it was, it's what I was introduced to, and it was fun. It definitely wasn't your wrestling. It wasn't your typical wrestling. It was a lot of sports entertainment. It was raw. It was edgy.
As Jim Cornette would say, it was gaga
thing, but it was gaga. It sure was. But by God, it was the best. It was the best gaga that you could have.
Yeah.
10 times better than Lady Gaga.
Right.
But yeah, there's not hardly a bad thing I'm going to say about the Attitude Era. I can find things like the hand and all that, birth to hand and all that crazy stuff. Some of the more Jerry Springer Russo stuff.
Yeah.
But man, when you talk about that main event picture, there's not been anything that big since. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing that'll ever be replicated. I think I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So, of course, going through the years, as I got internet, as I got DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that, I was able to really go back and learn my wrestling history somewhat. I don't go too far back. I'm not a Jim Cornette kind of connoisseur where he's really into the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, stuff like that. It's interesting stuff, but I'm not going to go seek it out.
I've gone as far back as the early 80s with stuff like
the early 80s. Yeah.
Some of that Memphis stuff when Jerry Lawler was in his prime, him and Terry Funk and like the empty arena match and some of that stuff's really good, but that's as far back as I've gone.
There's some stuff trickled in from the late 70s. You had Flair and Andre was there, and was it the late 70s or early 80s when Kaufman was there? It's right around in there.
Early 80s. It'd be 82. That's when they showed up on Letterman.
Yeah, that was all. Yeah. So, that's some really good stuff. And Kaufman going into the Hall of Fame, by the way, this year was great because I think it's well deserved. I'm not big on celebrity wings, but him, he's an exception for sure.
Yeah,
that's very deserving. He was very protective of the business. He loved the business, and he went out of his way to try and sell. Which he was just one of those guys anyway, even through comedy. But he really tried to sell wrestling to everybody to make it as real as possible. So I appreciate that. I think it's definitely deserving. But yeah, I've really kind of fine tuned what I think wrestling should be, and it's tough to find it in today's world with it's
there in pockets, and Nothing like what it
Yeah,
used
it
to.
is. Yeah, there's too many slapping legs and super kicks and high spots, and it's just too much. And it's not because I'm getting too old. It's just because it's not believable anymore. And
Mhm.
if people want to see those stunts, more power to you. But you can't tell me that is that believable, for one, when you've got a group of guys who are just standing there for 3 minutes acting groggy but still looking up, waiting for that guy to gain his balance on the top rope so he can
Yeah.
jump out of the ring on top of him. Like,
Well-
you're not making it real for people.
We'll
And
get
the
to that in the second
cameramen
match.
aren't even trying to hide it either. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's just really hard. And, like I said, if people like that, that's whatever, but you can't tell me it's believable. If you like it, that's cool, but you can't tell me it's believable.
No.
And I don't know how you would find it too exciting when it's all the time, every match. And AEW is a very big perpetrator of that. And WWE's got its moments, and like I said, we'll talk about that soon. So speaking of that, we will go ahead and get into it, I guess, then. Or unless you got something else to add?
No, not really. With the AEW thing, like you were talking, I really wanted them. I can remember talking to you and Chris about it. AEW is something I really wanted to succeed, just for that competitor. And it's so crap. It's so bad. There's some good stuff there too. I love MJF. I love that whole character and everything.
I love MJF.
Yeah.
MJF is the realest thing there, for sure.
And there's a few things there I like.
It's sad because,
but for the most part, yeah, it's like we'll talk about here in a little bit. Slapping your leg 30 times on camera in a match, that's no bueno.
Yeah. That's no bueno. So, let's talk about it then. So we'll get into it. One of the very few times, I may have mentioned it earlier, that we're going to be talking current wrestling. We might trickle that in here and there, but we're gonna, if everybody seems to like this, we really enjoy it. We're very passionate about it. We're gonna probably talk about a lot of old shows and
Bash
review,
at the Beach 2000. That's going to be one of them.
Bash at the Beach. Yeah, because I think we might do something good, something bad, something good, something bad.
Something borrowed.
Kind of talking about that. Something borrowed, something blue. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about that. But tonight we are talking WrestleMania weekend, and then of course some post WrestleMania weekend news for the big Monday after the big Raw. After WrestleMania, we'll talk about that just for a minute after, but we'll get into it. Let's start with WrestleMania. Night one, very first match, and I've wrote these down. Just by the way, you might have to help me out if you remember. I wrote these down in what I think I remember the order. I'm pretty confident.
I've got them here in front of me.
But night one. Okay, good deal. So I know Cena versus Theory was the opening match of the night one for the U.S. Championship. So I didn't take in detail notes on this, on all of them. Some of them I did, but not really anything crazy long-winded. Some of these I'm just going to tear through and give a rating to. So for Cena Theory, I thought it was an okay match. Not great. It was just a way to get Cena on the show and his bald spot. And I can't say too much about the bald spot because I'm getting one. But still fun.
It happens to all of us.
It happens to all of us. It's just, just to see it happen to the Super Cena.
You can't see me hair.
Continue. He keeps continuing to grow that damn hair out, and it just makes it so much worse. So, because I've questioned, whether or not if he goes back to that old Marine haircut that he had 5 years ago.
Yeah, he needs to.
If that, if it would be, maybe it wouldn't be as bad. But yeah, nothing special here. I think the right person won. It could have been a shock to see Cena with the belt. Doesn't need to be though. Austin Theory has been made a joke out of this last year or so, and it's I think he's very talented. I think he is going to be a part of the future. He does have a very heelish, punchable face because he looks like a douche.
He looks like a frat boy,
but he does, yeah. But he does look really good in the ring. He's got a great physique. He I think he understands the business. It seems like. So I think the right person won here. It's just a shame that they can't, because there's, I guess, other stuff going on right now. It's just a shame to see them kind of falter on him a little bit.
I think they dropped the ball on him last year. How are you going to have him lose to an announcer who had never wrestled before? You know, and wasn't it Pat McAfee that beat him last year and just killed him? Same with Sami Zayn last year. And the fact that they have to lift him back up with John Cena is kind of sad to me, you know. But I didn't think this match was anything special. I thought it was by the numbers, and I only saw like the second half of it. So I actually came in from work.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah. I came in from work a little bit late and missed the first half. But what I saw was it was okay. It was there. It seems like they were there to get that John Cena pop and put Theory over. And I honestly, after hearing his mic skills later on that night in an interview, I don't know if he will be an upper guy. I don't know if I can see him past the upper mid card. He had like 3 lines, and it was like, whatever. I wasn't that impressed, but people seem to like him a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get better. So,
well, I'm hoping so. I think he has potential anyway.
Yeah,
and that's what. And then you're probably going to see a trend. Because this is, and I'll just go, since I've got it on my mind and I won't forget it. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. I think there's this struggle, inner struggle that I have with current wrestling, especially at Wrestlemania, because we look at Wrestlemania. Me and you are going to watch Wrestlemania and say, okay, this is a big deal. These matches need to come off well. That if they're blow off matches or whatever, the story needs to be told. The right person needs to win. And not even so much that, it just needs to be done well, right? It needs to mean something because it's WrestleMania. And so often now you see stuff like this where you're just bringing somebody in for a pop and a feel good moment, and I think that's a lot of it last year too. We've got plenty of time in the future to pull Austin out of this. Let's just give the crowd something happy with Pat McAfee since he's so loved, right? And I get that, but I don't necessarily love it. I struggle with that because I'm sitting here like, I know these don't really mean anything because in a couple of years we're going to forget about it if they do something different and change it. But at the same time, like now you're still like screaming inside, like, what are you doing with this kid? Yeah. And so that's the kind of does that make sense? It's kind of an inner struggle that I have with Mania nowadays. And I guess they've always done that. It's just, I guess there's just been so many better Manias in the past that I'm just like, this is crazy. I don't know why you guys are still trying this shit. Two stars for me.
What would you rate this thing?
2 stars.
Oh, 2 stars?
Yeah.
I'm going 1.5.
Yeah, 2 stars.
Going 1.5
Star and a half. Okay.
It wasn't. I think it was probably the better of the ref bumps that we saw, of the weekend. When he had him up for the AA and they got him a lot better than the one Cody had that knocked out the ref on night 2 for like 5 minutes, where it kicks him in the side.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But
yeah. That's a hard gut punch, baby. The hard
I
gut punch. No.
I can't go more than 1.5. I'm pretty harsh on these, so.
Well, and that's that's like I was struggling because I'm not a professional rater. I'm not Dave Meltzer. I'm not going to give anything 6 stars. Yeah, I'm not going to give anything 6.5 stars or 12-star matches. So yeah, I've tried to be a little generous, but I also try to stay consistent with what I thought, but I thought, with Cena being in there, the right person won. I thought 2 was fair enough. Just because it wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't a great match. It just got in and got out, did what it needed to do. The next match, however, things were different.
Yeah.
The next match was the men's showcase tag team. It was a 4-way tag or whatever, and multi-man matches. This one thing I will agree with Jim Cornette on: multi-man matches usually just suck, and I love them at Survivor Series. I don't even love them at Survivor Series. I can't even say it because they're not great. It's just a way to showcase people. And, like even in 2K19 or 23 or whatever you're playing video game wise, you want to get a bunch of guys in there. That's cool. But, if you got to be honest with yourself when you're watching a product, they're usually stinkers.
Yeah. I think we like the old school Survivor Series matches just for the nostalgia, really. And, because unless there's a hot angle, on both sides with multiple people, it's, that's usually just a big cluster. So,
yeah. Yeah, and that's what this was. It was just a big cluster of guys that they needed to use. Makes sense to a point. There's some guys they left off the show both nights entirely, or didn't have anything special. I didn't see LA Knight. I didn't see Bobby Lashley. I did, but there was no match. There's nothing big with him, which is a shame.
There's two big omissions right there.
Lashley. Yeah, there's two big omissions right there, and you've done that so you could put the Viking Raiders on WrestleMania. And I'm still not sold on Viking Raiders. I know they're tough. They're big guys. They got some cool moves together.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of their matches. But it's not 1988 anymore, like that. That's just not... It's not that cool of a gimmick. And I love Vikings, but it's just not going to work. You've got Alpha Academy, which I don't dislike. If any, they should, instead of doing something goofy with Jason Jordan a few years ago being Kurt Angle's son on camera, they should have done
Chad Gable,
this with Chad Gable, because he talks like him. He's got a weird shaped head like him. He's just shorter, but he just like him. He reminds me of Kurt Angle so much, and he is really good in the ring.
And if you didn't like him before, you will after he deadlifts Braun Strowman into a German. That was amazing.
Dude, that was the best part of the match. That was the best part of the match, for sure. He is very impressive for his size and everything else. Street Profits, just another throwaway tag team to me. I think they're athletic, or the one is for sure. Don't really care for them. It feels like Crime Time 2.0, but with a partier gimmick instead of a street gang gimmick. You know what I mean?
It seems like they're all about the high spots with that team, and not so much like the wrestling. Like, I'd like to see more wrestling from that team. And well, me and you have talked. The one guy, what's his name, that does the frog splash. I hate when he covers somebody. Montez. I hate when he's kicking his legs and covering somebody. That's fine to do it once, maybe when you're finally pinning the guy, but every stinking time, it looks ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and it's worse for him because he's got them long, lanky legs, and he's got long, lanky arms, and and then you had Braun Strowman and Ricochet. Ricochet, at least in AAA standards, is an amazing wrestler. For AAA, he is good. I think he was a lot cooler with the mask down in Mexico. But I think Braun's just another big guy. I think he's athletic. But he's just not. I've never been attracted to big guys. Like, I've never been drawn to the big guy. I think Andre and Big Show to an extent, but like the real big guys I've never been drawn to. And I don't put Kane and Undertaker in the same category as those certain big guys, because
they were so athletic.
They're so agile and athletic. They're kind of freaks, like they're those guys who are just amazing, and especially Taker. But like when you look at the big guys who, like Strowman, who in a few years is not going to be very mobile. He's just going to be your typical Big Show type character at that point. Omos is the same way. We'll get to that later. This match for me was a 1 star out of 5, man. I'm not, I can't.
Yeah.
It just was what it was.
There was, for me, I'll go 1.5 again. There were some interesting spots. Like, I like Strowman's big choo-choo spot around the ring. It's funny, and the fact that he got taken out by Dawkins, during his own spot. And mainly the things I liked were him and Ricochet. I liked them as a team, honestly. They had some pretty cool. I don't
dislike him as a team.
They had a couple of really cool double team moves in that, And I was pulling for either them or Alpha Academy, because those are the actual wrestlers. And did you notice how sweaty Otis was in that match? It was so disgusting.
Dude, I think he's gaining weight. I think he's gaining weight somehow. I think so.
Yeah, I've really liked that team. I was pulling for
singlet.
Yeah, I was pulling for either one of those, and of course they went Street Profits, and I was like, whatever. But it was what it was.
Man, I just thought, it's like I said, the best spot was that Chad Gable spot. I do like them as a team. Something about you mentioned Braun and Ricochet. There's something about them. The big man, small man dynamic has always worked for me. X-Pac and Kane, a lot of Kanes here. Kane and Hurricane was even entertaining there for just a little while. I think Kane and RVD maybe even had a run. Yeah. Something about the big guys and the little guys together always seem to have a good dynamic. But yeah, just a couple good spots. Mostly a throwaway match for me just to get some guys on the pay-per-view. That otherwise could have had a better tag match if it just would have been 2 sets instead of 4. Yeah.
Or Lashley against LA Knight.
Yeah, or even Lashley versus LA Knight in somewhat of a storyline. That would have been better. So moving on, we got was it Seth and Logan next, or was it Trish and Lita after that?
Yeah, the Seth and Logan.
I can't remember. Okay, so that's what I was thinking. Seth and Logan was after that. This match, so Seth Rollins is absolutely ridiculous. The Seth freaking Rollins, Franklin Rollins, right? Seth Franklin Rollins.
Kudos to Jim Cornette.
Kudos to Jim. So, Seth is an amazing athlete. This is what I think about Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins can have a match with a mop and make it look good.
Yeah.
And it may not be the greatest, but it's always in Seth's way. And Seth is like, I don't know, he could just turn a match with a mop into something entertaining.
It's that HBK factor.
Even with his, it's that stupid gimmick of his and the laughing. I don't even mind the laughing. It's the clothes, and he's just so over the top. Him and Becky does that, and it's so ridiculous. But I don't even hate him for it. He looked like a munchkin at a Valentine's Day party.
He did. Did you see the Jarrett strap?
He looked like the head of the Munchkins. Yes, and he had the Jeff Jarrett strap, the pink one, which I thought was pretty good. I pointed out, Chelsea, look, he's got a Jarrett strap. Took it off immediately though. He should have wrestled in it.
He should have.
At least for a little bit. Logan Paul had the HBK entrance, the WrestleMania 12 HBK entrance kind of, except he was mic'd up, trying to play the crowd. I don't know if he wants to be liked or wants to be a face or exactly what he's playing at, but he is such a natural heel.
Yeah.
I absolutely detest the Paul brothers. Absolutely. Like Logan and Jake both. Logan is just a doucher, and he might be a little bit different now, but I don't think so as much. It's just something you just don't grow out of. But I will say this about Logan Paul, and it pisses me off even more because I don't like him. He is a lot better than he has any right to be. I mean,
yes.
Him and his brother
I was going to say that exact same
gifted
thing.
Athletes. Yeah, he is a naturally gifted athlete, just like his brother. He is taking to wrestling so well, and it's so aggravating to me and probably others who look at this and like, oh my God, he's got a lot of work to do, but he is so far ahead of some that just because he's so athletic,
I would go as far to say he was like the 3rd or 4th best heel on all of WrestleMania. 4 matches into his career.
I will 100%.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%.
And to be that impressive, to understand the psychology of what he needs to do, where he needs to be, it's more than just doing moves, as you and I both know. But like, he's in position where he needs to be at all times, and he's wise beyond his years, and I think they would do well to sign him up, and I think he would be wise to take it, because how long is this celebrity thing going to last? And he could have a career as like a top-notch heel.
Yeah. If he would really buckle down and do that, he may not want to be tied down. I don't know.
Yeah.
He might like the because that's the kind of person he probably is. He probably just wants to be that superstar celebrity type who can come in and do those things. I don't know for sure about that, but it just seems that way. Seth won that, right? I think Seth
Yes,
won that.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that.
There's a lot of false finishes in that match. Probably a few too many.
There was.
But yeah.
Probably.
What did you think?
Probably.
What did you think of the big spot?
With the energy drink mascot,
Yeah.
and pulling him into the. I gotta admit, I was like, "What the hell is this guy doing out here?" And you find out it's his business partner. That's fine. I thought it was funny. I did laugh. It was a good spot. Yeah. Of course, a cushion suit and all that. Still, kudos to that guy for doing it. Kudos to Logan. And Logan Paul, man, he gets air. Like, he does not pull back on anything. I'm pretty sure he does that slingshot lariat better than, what's his name in AEW? Adam Page.
Adam Page.
Hangman.
Hangnail Adam Page.
He does it better than him. Hangnail, yeah.
Whenever that bottle came out,
start a bunch of crap with a guy.
Whenever that bottle came out, I'm giving my wife the Iggy, and I'm like, that's somebody that's going to help the outcome of the match. There's no other reason for it. Didn't happen with the Cinemoji later, I guess, but I was really, really hoping it would like go to the next storyline, like with Seth, like it would be something like that, some kind of double cross. But it was what it was. I think I've said that to every single match so far. It was what it was.
Well, that's what you get out of wrestling now.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 3-star. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was decent. Could have been better. Could have been a lot worse. I thought it was one of the better matches of the night, surprisingly, just because
I'd go 3 1/4.
And Seth is too.
Yeah, I go 3 1/4. I enjoyed it. I thought it went on a little bit too long, but I think it probably should have ended, after the table spot, but it went on a little bit, like another 5 minutes or something. But especially, a guy that's not, seasoned. You can't expect him to go with Seth that long. But man, it was a good match. I enjoyed it.
Right. No, it was. I agree. What was the next one? Is that the Becky and Lita one? Becky, Lita, Trish?
Yes.
Tag team. Was that right? I think.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one.
I don't really either. Becky, Lita, and Trish versus Damage Control, which is Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. It was okay. Trish looked good for not being in a wrestling match in a while. Yeah, I thought she looked okay. Considering a lot of other parts looked okay. Props to that bra for hanging on.
Absolutely.
I thought we were going to lose them at any point, and that would have just been awful. For all the
Jerry Lawler would have had another stroke.
Oh man, them puppies would have went wild. Lita looked good. Lita was always good, but never graceful. I feel like, is that fair?
Like she was unorthodox.
Unorthodox. Trish was a little more graceful, but not super graceful either. But I thought she was good for her size, and considering they were both in a time where women weren't what they are now, in the wrestling business. And anyway, they all look good. Becky getting the pin off the turnbuckle, big move off the turnbuckle. Really like that. Okay match, definitely a WrestleMania style match. I gave it 2.5 stars. Really not that bad. But they're just, but again, you got the multi-man matches. It's hard to get anything too good out of those.
I gave it 2 stars. I think what I really liked about it was Lita's entrance. I felt like it was 2003 instead of 2023. When it came out with that, that new metal stuff that she came out with, and I liked one of the. Yeah. She had this really cool
up and everything too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the move she had where I can't remember who it was, but she got him in a head scissors and threw him head first, from the corner into the buckles. That was pretty cool. You don't see stuff like that anymore. There were a few spots, but overall, yeah, I give it a 2.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad deal. So seems like you're gonna be saying that a lot. Not bad. It's all right. So I mean, I guess it's good. It wasn't really overall the worst show. Anyway, Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio, father versus son. Again, not great, not bad. It's okay. Yeah. So you mentioned the Cinemoji earlier, and I gotta say this. So two things about it. One, Dominic's entrance was hilarious.
Yes,
because you had he's playing this up. He's a thug. He's done hard time. He comes out. He gets transported from a jail, like a prison, to which he was in county lockup. He was not in prison
until he made bail.
But he says he does hard. Yeah, yeah. So he went to county and made bail instantly. But he's a hard thug, and if he would have come out, he got transported in this van. And if he would have come out and shanked Cinemoji, that would have been the best thing. That's what he should have done during his just come out and just shank the shit out of Cinemoji. Yeah. That would have been hilarious. That would have been hard. That'd been hard.
Who runs Barter
also,
Town?
Speaking of that, yes. So speaking of it, why, by the way, is this big father versus son, like this is a real life story they're playing, right? You got a real life son. Why is it being sponsored by Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
I don't know.
Why is there a Cinemoji at mascot out there? This is this is supposed to be a gripping story.
Is it because Rey's for kids? That's the only thing I could figure, because Rey Mysterio feels.
I mean, I get it. They're like an hour or two from San Diego. That's their home turf, and I get it. It's just they definitely big money super showed it up a little bit. Like they definitely WrestleMania'd it up a little bit. Let's think about this. Everybody knows it's a work anyway, pal. It just doesn't sit well with me though and by the way, other than the Usos match, this is the longest actual story line on the card, at least for this night, especially for this night. So what are we doing? Anyway, that aside, it was dumb, but that aside, I still stand by should have been shanked. Okay match, some good spots. Getting the sister and the mother involved, and them slapping him and all that, whatever. That was, I think they slapped him. Was that it, or was I dreaming? That was
the mom got him
down. So that's right, the mom got him. Okay, Rey beats him. I think that's fine. It doesn't matter. They tried to get in. I think Judgment Day tried to get involved, and Bad Bunny ends up helping Rey. And I don't know. It's just whatever. It's
I thought it was better than
match that could have been otherwise.
It was better than I thought it was going to be. Given Dominic, on his own in a singles match. Of course, he's got his daddy, making sure he looks good. But kind of like the Logan Paul thing.
He is getting better.
He is starting to get better, and he's just a good cowardly heel. I don't like the character, but I'm starting to warm up just a smidge to the character. And I didn't think that was
especially
possible.
After that awesome entrance.
Yeah,
especially after that entrance. Just because I mean, keep playing up. You did hard time. That's hilarious. I mean, if we're not going to take it serious, you gotta at least have fun with it,
Yeah. I go 2.5 on this.
I gave it 2.25. I think the first time that you outranked me on one. I gave it 2.25. Said okay, just not as good as what's coming. So you know what? Speaking of which, I just realized I forgot to rate this one last match. Next up though is Charlotte versus Rhea for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and this was the best match of the night for me.
Yeah, it's the best match of WrestleMania for me. Of both nights.
Really?
Yeah. They were.
They were
physical.
It's my second.
One thing that I have an issue with is, WWE has always used that big ring. Like, you go back and look at WCW's rings, and they were 18 by 18, and WWE's is like 20 by 20, and it makes your female wrestlers look even smaller. Well, both of these girls are 6 foot tall and as big as smaller dudes, and I don't know, their fight to me was just believable, and it was stiff, and not as stiff as one we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but like it was. I loved it. I loved everything about this match. The right person won, I think, and
yes, I agree.
I think after this, I hate to take it without you getting a chance to talk about it, but I think after this, you almost have to turn Charlotte heel. I don't know what happened, or what's going to happen tonight on SmackDown, but that I think you almost, and it throws a monkey wrench in Judgment Day, because did you hear at the end of that match the yay boo at the end, and everybody's so pro Rhea Ripley? It's like, what happens there with her and Dominic? Because you have to keep him a heel, because he cannot get over as a good guy.
I feel like they're just, I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I feel like they're just going to roll with it, and they're going to do the same thing, and they're just going to let people, they're going to keep rolling with the punches and let people cheer if they want. Yeah, I think for now anyway. I don't think they're going to do any big face turns. I think she's going to be just a big, tough, brute heel going forward for some baby face to come in and topple. Charlotte was better as a heel, but I've heard she's taking time off now. Again, she was gone half the year last year, but she's like, I'm going to go travel with Andrade. I was like, okay, I guess if you want a Brock Lesnar schedule, that's fine, but you're not Brock Lesnar. Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Charlotte. I think she's one of the best wrestlers in the women's category ever. Obviously, I think they threw too many belts on her too quick. But now that she's got all that crap out of the way, she's just like, well, I guess I'm going to be the queen, in real life. And it's just like, it's, I feel like her dad's definitely rubbing off on her a little bit. I don't like because the thing is, and I want to say this, every time she's gone and comes back, she loses it in the ring. Because she just loses it. She was so good, and she's getting older now. She's messing her face up like all of them are. You need to stop with that. But she's losing it in the ring every time she goes. She gets a little bit more,
safe
sloppy every time. Maybe. I don't know. She's sloppier. I think she. I don't know. I'm just not as sold on Charlotte as I used to be, and that's fine. She's done her thing. If that's what she wants to do, that's what she wants to do. If she wants to go and travel, then move over and let the other ones take over. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of them, but it's Rhea's time now, and that's fine with me, man. Rhea, I've been super high on Rhea for a long time, and like you said, the right person won here. Good move off the turnbuckle for the finish. That strength was amazing. I gave it a 3.8 out of 5. Really, really, really close. It was one of my favorite matches of the night. I couldn't quite give it 4. It takes a lot to get a 5, but this was a really strong match.
Yeah, I'm going 4.25. They really impressed me with this match, and both of them, not just Rhea, but Charlotte too. So I thought she had a really good match, but. Then that's the only time you're going to hear me give anything over a 4 on this show. So on either night, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
I had. Go ahead.
Oh, I enjoyed it. This saved the show for me. This and the next match, and the Seth and Logan Paul match. That was it for me.
I agree. They definitely beat the hell out of each other, and they're both good. I mean, Charlotte did a great job. It just seems like every time she goes off and she just doesn't seem like she's there as much. And it needs her. If she's going to be around, it needs her. She needs to be focused, and
especially if they're going to lose Becky.
She's felt like
or not Becky, but Bailey, like they're talking.
Yeah, and are they going to lose? I see. I haven't heard that yet. What are they
Yeah,
saying?
I heard a rumor anyway that Bailey's looking to take some time off or leave or something. So,
I mean, and that's, you know, Bailey's one of those that's she's good, and she's a very good heel. Turns out, which is awesome, because I was tired of her face gimmick. But
oh yeah,
maybe it's, but she might need to go away for a little while so we can miss her more.
yeah.
Heal up, whatever she's got to do. Last match of night one. We're move right along here. Usos versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Big story for the night. I understand why. I think Ric Flair said he was kind of upset that they broke tradition to move his daughter's match off of the main event.
Oh,
whatever.
Boy.
I get why they did it. Sammy is a bigger thing right now. Sammy and Usos and the Bloodline's a bigger thing.
And I love that
Kevin
match.
Owens and
But
Sammy
this should have been the main event. Absolutely.
This should have been. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So, not a bad match. Not a great match. It was, for me, the problem with me is typically Usos match, though. The first 3/4 of it, that last quarter, that last 5-10 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes we'll say, was good storytelling, was really good. It showed that they were beating the hell out of each other. The finish was just what I would want it to be. Before that, it was super kick city, man, like all over the place, just slapping legs and, you know, snapping necks, cashing checks.
I don't watch it very often, so I don't see a whole lot. But all I ever see them do is super kicks. Can they wrestle?
That's all they do, man.
Why are you in the main event?
I feel like
all you can do.
Right, I feel like they can, and I've seen good stuff out of them boys in the past. But it just seems like, and they've always kind of done the super kick thing. But I've seen some decent stuff out of them in the past. But man, it's always the tag teams, man. Like the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks and the Usos, everybody's just throwing super kicks left and right, and it's great. You can do it. It's a okay move, even outside of the finisher, I guess. But if that's all you do, man, like, you know, these knees look like shit. The super kicks even look like shit half the time, and I can't get down on it, man. It turns me off the match. I wanted to like this match more. If it wasn't for that last 5 minutes of where they actually kind of got their crap together and told their story and did what they needed to do and got to the finish, this match would have been a stinker. But it saved it a little bit. I just don't feel like they're ring generals enough. And if they are, they're not showing it. You know, that filler in between from getting to A to B is, or maybe the A to C and the B is what's messed up. That's where they need to focus on, because super. I don't think a team. That's not it.
I don't think a team that is as rudimentary as them, as far as throwing like 30 super kicks in a match, should be the longest reigning tag champs of anything. Honestly, I was mad.
No,
I grew up. I was a big Demolition fan growing up. You know that. I came in that year they first came in, won those belts, and they were champs for like a year and a half. I got mad when the New Day, when they did that just to spite them because of the concussion thing. Demolition came out and they're like, oh, they're part of that concussion protocol deal. And so they beat them with New Day. And now that's been beat by these guys who can, aside from a splash and a super kick, what can they do? Hang out with Roman Reigns, carry his bags.
Yeah. They're perfect for that, but are they perfect tag team champions when you've got and you've got a company who's already not treated tag teams well for a long time, and they don't take it very seriously, and that's a shame, man. You know, when the days of the Rockers, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, even all the way up to the New Age Outlaws and some of those guys, man, even Haas and Benjamin were awesome. You just don't. I don't know. There's a lot of long history of tag teams that were much better, and it's a shame because I think they have potential and I think they have got the name. You don't, but you're not doing anything with it. You're just throwing super kicks, slapping your leg, man. It's great you can do that, but it's just too much.
And one more thing, and then I promise I'll leave the slapping the leg thing alone. Me and you talked about this at work one day, and I'm watching Starrcade '86. And that crowd is so hot for those matches, you couldn't hear somebody slapping their leg. If you could,
No.
You know, the realism's dead, but if you could get a crowd back to where they're that loud, and you had like 80,000 people in that stadium, they should have been so loud. It didn't matter if you slapped your leg or not. You know, HBK, who threw the best super kick, by the way, yeah, he probably did slap his leg, but you never noticed it because he threw it once.
No.
And that was it. But yeah, if it was done correctly, you wouldn't need to do that. Like you watch those old NWA shows, and people are going ballistic in the stands.
Yeah. They're going ballistic over the smallest stuff. I mean, just the fact that somebody they hate is on top of somebody they love, and they're screaming their head off, man.
Yeah.
And when the baby faces come to save them and the heels powder, man, like they go nuts. Like it's a whole different time. They had a hot crowd. They had a hot crowd at this Mania. They had a good crowd, and they had a hot crowd the next night on Raw, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And that was about the best part of the show. I don't like modern day crowds as much because they're either dead or they're starting stupid chants that just I'm tired of. But they were hot, man. They did a great. They were a big part of the show.
Yeah,
and yeah, you can't even. I could still hear the slaps over that. I did 2 3/4 on that, and that's only because of the ending was good storytelling, and Sammy got his due, you know. With Kevin.
Yeah, I do the same 2 3/4 for this match. The story was good. The match was okay. It was, and of course I got mad halfway through it over the super kick thing. But the right team won. It was good seeing them celebrate in the ring at the end, and for that feel good moment, which we'll talk about on the next night. You know, the polar opposite. They got it right on this one, and so I almost want to go 3, but I can't quite do it.
Yeah. So that brings us to night 2 then. Moving right along. WrestleMania night 2 opens up with Brock Lesnar versus Omos. As Jim Cornette would say, almost.
Almost, and I can't call him anything but that.
I know, I always catch myself saying almost. Quick, hard-hitting action, good offense from Omos. Brock sold well for him, made him look good. It was the best he's ever looked in a match, which isn't saying much. But Brock gets a big F5, gets the win, and it looks a good-looking F5. This definitely was the best Omos has looked. Kudos to Brock for doing it. I guess just get that payday. It was just kind of a weird match for, you know, at first you're like, what in the world? This is going to suck. This makes no sense. But it turned out a lot better with my expectations being so low than I thought. I gave it a 1.8 star. Just not quite there, but it was what it was. It was a quick Brock hard hitting match. It's hard to rate anything higher because it wasn't anything but what it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
There were maybe 15 moves in the entire match. Really.
Yeah.
Brock hit like 4, and that was it. Yeah, 1.5 stars.
I think. Yeah,
I'll go 1.5.
Did get the crowd going.
Yeah. I'll rate it right there with the match on night 1. You know, like to me, you should start off WrestleMania with a hot match. You know, something like a tag match or something quick. But I guess they got the big star power out of the way, and that's an interesting way to look at it. You know, how to jumpstart a Mania. But I wasn't mad at this match.
The jet was already running, so we need to get Brock in and out of here. You know, the jet was already running. I didn't hate it. It was fine. It was a good, fun, quick match. Get the crowd going. It worked. The crowd was hot for it. It was better than everybody expected it to be. It was. It just you know, how can you really rate something like that high? You know, it was just what it was supposed to be. Next match up: Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Natty and Shotzi versus Ronda and Shayna versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Same as the men's. Terrible filler match. This is what I wrote. To get more people on the card, basically. Still no LA Knight. Still no Bobby Lashley. But you know, we're here. The right team won. Ronda and Shayna. I gave it a 1 out of 5. It just wasn't. It was worse than the men's showcase. It was worse than that one. These girls, individually, some of them are decent.
Yeah.
As a whole, what can you do with this? What can you do with this mess?
No, you can't do anything. And there were a couple of spots I liked. Natty getting the double sharpshooter. I thought that was a pretty cool spot.
Yeah.
But I just in a match like this, I like to pick out who's going to take the fall. And I actually picked this one out. I'm like, here's the least that they're going to put. Here's the least likely to be pushed in the future. And I'm like, it's got to be Shotzi.
Yeah.
Like out of all these girls. And I don't know. This match, half a star. I don't know. I don't know what else to rate it as.
Yeah, Ronda and Shayna should have won because they're legit fighters. That's the way I look at it. But at the same time, I mean, we've talked about how bad Ronda is at this, and she is. Yeah. She's not that great.
She needs to go away.
Shayna is better than her as far as the wrestling game goes, as far as the WWE style goes. I don't dislike Ronda being around, but I don't know if she's just not getting it or she's not interested in learning it to a degree. She's too bullheaded, or maybe she's just too sensitive. She don't like the criticism. I think she did something like that in UFC. I thought she was awesome in UFC for a little while. I like Ronda. I don't dislike Ronda in any way, shape, or form, but she's just not good at this. And if you're just trying to get some star power out of her, fine. I wish she would get better. If she's capable, I wish she would. She's just I don't know if I don't know if it's just the lack of not being able to get through to her, or she just doesn't care, or she does and she just, I don't know. But I wish she'd figure something out, because I do like her. I want her to be around if she can get better, but she's gonna have to get better.
Yeah.
Shayna, poor thing, looks like she fell out of an ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down. But she is somebody that would kick my ass. She'd kick my ass all day, every day, and she is good. I don't think she gets enough love in this company, honestly. She's really good. She's not Charlotte good, but she's good. You know, she's a legit fighter. Just anyway, yeah, 1 out of 5, not good. 1 star. I'm fine with him winning, just whatever. The next match, though, this was better than it had any right to be.
Yeah.
As a triple
threat. And it is almost my match of the night.
Almost, for sure.
Yeah.
Almost. It is right there. Almost. Not almost. Almost. I'm getting myself tongue-tied now trying to say that dude's name. It's almost is just better. So Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre. I love all of these guys. I love Drew. And Gunther, formerly Walter, however you want to say it, is probably one of the best in the company right now.
Yeah.
As far as just better all around wrestling, old school, tough guy. The guy who gets it, the guy who knows how to wrestle, the guy who knows what wrestling is. This guy is it. Everybody needs to take note. Everybody needs to hear my words right now. He is one of the best, if not the best, in the company right now. And
when you look at him, he reminds me of an old school NWA champion, like that would, like back in the territory days, like just his ring gear and his look and everything. He looks like he'd wrestle Dory Funk or Jack Briscoe or somebody like that. And just, and I loved. We were commenting when we were watching WrestleMania. The three of us, including Kenny, were texting back and forth. And I love what Kenny was saying about Gunther. Like, who is this guy? Like, just his look, how he didn't like him. And how
he looks kind of downsy. You know what I mean? Like, he's a very odd looking guy.
Yeah, that adds to the character
and being. It does. It makes it much better because it makes you believe he is this like European just.
If he was a big muscle head, dude, he would be like it. He just looked like somebody from La Resistance or something, you know. The fact that he looks so original, I love it.
Yeah, he's a big throwback, and he is so tough and he's so good. He's putting the power bomb back over again, just the regular old power bomb, which I love. Big power, great match, very hard hitting. And that's probably, those guys are all hard hitters. They're all from the UK or Europe, and they're all pretty stiff anyway. They're used to it. Kind of got that William Regal style,
Regal and Finley.
Very, very tight. Yeah, Regal and Finley, very tight, very good, very, very hard hitting, very violent. Crowd was into it. I was into it. Just super awesome match. The right person won.
Yeah. I'm glad Gunther got the win. The match was all right up until he was given the chops. When they started hitting back, talking about Sheamus, and Drew, that's when the match really took off for me. Especially like the broad arms. What, he hit him with like 28 of them before he finally collapsed. I love the selling on that. That was tremendous.
And all their chests were just red and just oh man, it was so good. I'm gonna have to probably go back and rewatch it again just because man, it was so good.
And didn't Drew hit like
check that out again?
Didn't Drew hit like a somersault plancha to the outside at one point during that match?
Yes,
like it's the high spot. Yeah. It was. Yeah. The entire match was amazing.
Yeah, they all these big guys, man, and I would have been good with any of them winning. But I do think just more so that Gunther winning was the best call, just because they really need to continue with him. They really do. Even if they get him a Paul Heyman type mouthpiece in the future, that's what they need to do. If he's not going to if he doesn't connect with the crowd as much, I think just let his work do the talking, and he'll be another Brock, but more technical. You know what I mean? And Brock is a great wrestler and a great athlete. He just doesn't get to showcase it, and he may not want to. But I was listening
to somebody else's podcast talking about how to get him over, more with the crowd. I can't remember if it was Jim Cornette or Dutch Mantel, but one of them said, "Can you imagine if when he's about to beat the Honky Tonk Man's streak for the title, Honky Tonk Man coming out and getting in his face and taking one of those chops and like, F it, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
That would be the absolute best.
Immediately.
Yes.
That would be amazing. Yes. That's what they need to do. He's like, no, I don't believe I will. I'm gonna go to the plane. I'm gonna go to the plane.
Elvis has left the building.
Elvis has left the building. I did 3 3/4 stars on this. 3 3/4 stars. I think it's a great match. I think it's a good rating. Kudos to those guys for turning a shit triple threat match into a classic, hard hitting.
Yeah, I agree with you.
People will talk about
3 3/4. I don't think it had quite enough time to be a 4-star match, but it was great for what we got.
It was perfect for what it needed to be. You got the crowd going even more. I called the finish of every match pretty much up until this next one. Next one was Bianca versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. This is where I got it wrong. I picked Asuka to win, and Bianca ended up winning. Bianca is really athletic. She's super strong. She had a good move at the end for the win, her picking up that one arm for the finish. Great. I don't dislike her. But that said, man, I'm ready for somebody else to be the champion for right now. I get why she had to win here because of the girls being there and all that. I get it. But, man, Asuka is in the top 3 of women's wrestlers right now. If not in the world, in the company for sure, right? She is legit. I know she may not be she is a marketable... I say this in a way of her look. She's a marketable champion in the way she looks. She does all of her work in the ring. I know she can't really speak English well, but I can't remember the last time I've loved a woman's promo anyway. I don't like half of any of their promos, men or women, because they just can't do it anymore, it seems like. But man, I'm just biased because I'm really high on Asuka. But I really wanted to see her win here. I called her winning. She did not. Still an okay match. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I'll get all of it out of the way before I let you go. Just a little disappointed, but Bianca's still good. I wish she'd cut her hair. I know that's her thing. Don't like that though. Anyway,
I wish she'd turn heel. She's always big smile and baby face, and I think she'd be a big, strong, nasty heel. But I don't know that they'll do that, because
that would be for sure.
She's kind of like their Cena, their big smiling, always twirling her hair, and to me, Asuka is kind of like
give it up.
Yeah, since she can't really cut a promo, she's kind of like, and she's so colorful. She reminds me of like Rey Mysterio, in a way, like that division's Rey or something. Back when Rey was not what he is now, when he was better. But I have no problems with Bianca winning. I like the match. I actually think that spot where Asuka accidentally blew the mist at her, that's probably where Bianca should have turned, and she should have got pissed and went after her, and that would have been a good moment to have. And they just both kind of like, what? Like, I felt like that was a missed opportunity in the match.
Yeah,
but
that was more of a whoopsie than a look what I did.
Yeah. What did you give it? 3?
3 out of 5. It was a good match.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I think that's a fair rating.
Man, I was just so ready for Asuka to take it again, and I think, like I said, I'm really high on Asuka. Just good stuff though, man. I get it why she had to. I think you're right. I think Bianca would be a lot better as the heel. I don't like the EST thing. I'll be honest. I know it's hers, and everybody's got to have their thing. I'm not big on it, and whatever.
You can choke people out with that hair.
Towards me though. Oh my God! Well, have you seen the matches where she whips them with it and leaves welts on their bodies?
Yeah,
oh
but you could literally like hangman them over the ropes with that hair. You could do all kinds of things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you could Justin Roberts them like quick and get fired and come back. Daniel Bryan said choke him out with his tie.
Right.
So we didn't mention the Miz and Snoop segment on the first night. That's okay. This I only have to mention it here because I think Bianca winning was a bad omen, and this is just me being retarded here. But
like the show Snake did after that.
Asuka, yeah. Because I was on the money with all these other matches, right? Because I was wrong about Asuka. I feel like it just put a curse on the show. If Asuka would have won, Shane would have never blew his quad. Poor Shane would have Shane come out after all this time, and Dutch Mantell actually mentioned this in the show, I guess a day or so ago. He's like, oh, he knew Vince was back the minute Shane showed up, which may be the case, but it was a good surprise. I was loving it. Shane looked like he was in good shape, kind of, but also looked a little swollen, and he was blown up by the time he got to the ring. He come out there and done some athletic stuff, that leapfrog, that big high leapfrog, and that was cool, but it come down wrong and bam, popped it out. I mean, blew that.
You're going too hard, baby.
Triple H. He's going way too hard, baby. McMahon, the McMahon guys, man, the McMahon men don't have good quads. They don't have strong quads.
You got to train them quads. They're taking
both of them.
Kevin Nash was training him.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Yeah, he Kevin Nashed himself. At least he wasn't Vince and didn't blow both of them like just sliding into the ring. At least he was doing a really cool leapfrog.
Yeah,
something that Vince wouldn't have been able to do at that age.
The awkwardness of Miz hitting the ropes back and forth after he went down.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, it's like he didn't know what to do. And this was so funny and I'm more high on Miz now than I used to be. I think he's a great heel. He's a great talker. And he is safe, some for good or bad. He's safe. I think he just kind of froze and freaked out for a second. He's like, "What do I do?" And Snoop ad-libbed better than he did. I mean, Snoop come in and knocked the hell out of him, and then did a really terrible looking people's elbow. But I mean, just stiff armed him. I mean, just landed on him, just as real as shit.
Well, Snoop's
I
a
thought
Hall
that
of
was pretty
Famer, and
funny.
The Miz isn't. So there you go.
Oh, that's why. That's why. Yeah. you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
you're absolutely
thought
right.
whenever the Miz was running, that would have been the perfect time. Like, and if that had been me, I would have called it right there. Like when Shane went down to one knee, Shining Wizard to the head, just like running knee
Oh,
off the ropes.
just
Yeah, yeah,
bam, just
give him a
right
chance
in
to
the head.
roll out.
So,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Just apologize in the back. So I'm so sorry,
yeah.
man. I had to do
You
something.
can always
I panicked.
apologize.
Yeah, I panicked. I had
You
to
can
give him a
imagine what's.
hand. And
Damn it! What was that?
give him a concussion. Yeah, you gave him a concussion. What? Right after he blew a quad? Pal, that's just not. It's not good, pal.
Yeah.
Not a good look for us, pal. So
NXT needs some help, pal.
So yeah, I'm gonna give this segment a half a star. I wasn't gonna rate the segment. I just ad libbed that myself. So
It was hilarity. That's what I liked about it.
it was. I felt so bad, and I sit there and cringe for 5 minutes because I haven't blown my quad, but because at first I thought it was his knee, and I was like, I've had my knees buckle, I've had him out of place, I've had him put him back in. I know the feeling. I was cringing the whole time, like, oh my god, he blew his knee, and it's like I know what it means, and I was just like, oh, I was just feeling his pain, man. I was like, oh, this sucks for him. He just came back, and that's terrible. But at the same time, it was kind of funny. I guess now knowing it was a quad, it's even funnier. Unfortunately, the poor guy's going to be out for several months now. So
That's too bad.
No big matches for. Yeah, it's too bad.
The bad thing is
so-
he's going to feel like he has to redeem himself and like come off a Titantron or something to make this all better.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's got to have one last hurrah for sure. This is not the way we want to remember Shane, right? So the next up, speaking of remembering things, not wanting to remember things, Edge versus Finn Balor.
Oh
Again,
boy!
Again, Asuka losing that match just ruined everything because I think it was at this point they called Gangrel up. It's like, nah, just head home. We're not going to use you. You know, there's all this talk about bringing in the Brood to help Edge and all, and like Judgment Day didn't even get involved in this match. Like, I was like, if this was a blow-off match, and I don't remember if they said it was, if this was a blow-off match, it's a bad one because this should have involved everybody. You know what I mean? The match was brutal at times. It was okay. I mean, it had some good hardcore moments and back and forth. It wasn't great. The thing though that absolutely killed it in its tracks was stopping the match to help Finn's head and staple his head shut. And don't get me wrong, I seen the gash. It was rough. I get why they had to. I get with blood and the safety of everybody now, I get why they do it. But at the same time, man, like it being a fan of the old days where those guys were cutting themselves on purpose and bleeding like stuffed pigs, man, like they were bleeding like stuck pigs back in the day. I get it. It's not safe, but it really takes you out of the match because you know what they're doing. Edge is taking too long to get weapons out from the ring. They're hiding Finn off camera and somewhat. And him taking staples right there in the ring with the adrenaline going and gluing them up. That was whatever. I don't know, man. Luckily, it's hard to see with the paint.
Was it you I was talking about? Was it you I was talking about the other day, liking it to the Austin thing? Can you imagine if they're like, "Hey, Brett, let's let go of the sharpshooter for a minute so we can staple Austin up," and you would have lost a moment right there, and Austin, who knows what would have happened if he goes on because that was what propelled him.
Yeah, Austin had the shirt, when he had, and it was running down his face and into his teeth and through his teeth, and man, it was a crazy image that maybe it wasn't supposed to happen, but it did, and it propelled him, and maybe you can't
I don't know
make
as
the
a
same
fan
argument here because of these two.
As a fan, I've personally
seen.
seen.
As a fan,
I've seen bloodier. HBK at WrestleMania 20.
Oh yeah,
I think he got busted open maybe hard way. They never stopped that.
Yeah. No, I've seen a lot bigger gashes, and I've seen a lot things worse that they could have done. I don't know. Like I said, I get it to a point. It's just as an old school fan, it takes you out because you're like, man, we don't get this very often. And if this is a blow-off match, if this is the match that is supposed to culminate between these two, then I feel like that draws the story, that draws the money. That's when guys cut themselves, like that's when guys bled.
Yeah.
It was those matches. So it's so much softer. Like I said, I'm on the fence about it because I get it. I get why they do it. I'm not there. Just took me out, man. Two out of 5, man. 2 stars. I'm not
Really.
There was some. It was not. It wasn't good enough to be any higher than that. It took me out of it. I love Hell in a Cell matches, and I love it when they get weapons involved and get crazy. I'm not as high on hardcore stuff as I used to be because I appreciate wrestling a little bit more. But there's a place for it still, as long as they get too death matchy, like new school death matchy. But
I'm going to show my old school here. The cell should have been the story, and they barely even used the cell. I mean, I think and one of the dumbest spots of the night, I think he took some kendo sticks and got him in the corner, and splashed him and stuff. Where all Finn would have had to done was pull the sticks out. Right after the bell rang, they went for weapons underneath the ring. It's like, where's the wrestling? Why all this garbage stuff, like right off the bat? And was I talking to you? I can't remember if I was talking to you or my wife. If it was me, I could see having a toolbox under the ring, because you're gonna have to tear it down after the show. I could see if you have a ladder match, having a ladder under the ring. Why is there 60 tables and 25 kendo sticks and everything else under the ring? It's just the storytelling is bad.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of kendo sticks anymore. Yeah, like there's too many of them. There's too many used. The chairs. I've always been a fan of chairs. I've always been a fan of tables. You don't have to have 50 of them, but I've always liked tables and ladders and chairs. But I know you want to change it every now and then, but then the kendo sticks they're so overused now.
Yeah.
I think it's just so they can get those cracks and those welts and I don't know. Like I don't know.
I can't give this.
Old fashioned chair shots are better.
Yeah, as a match, I can't give this more than 1 star. It was a terrible match.
Yeah.
It was sad. It was everything I did not want it to be. Did they use the cell other than I think Edge got his face grated on it a little bit, but it's like
not really. Finn came. I thought Finn coming off the cell because
I forgot about that.
I told Chuck like how convenient that platform would be there for him to climb and jump. Like that platform has never been there that I remember, and maybe it has, but why so. Maybe I'm a little too. Now that you say that, I'm a little too nice about it. I guess I'm just so used to modern day Hell in a Cells that it was a bad match. I can't rate it high at all at most of them, but I can't. Maybe I'm just I can't rate it too low either because that's what we have. I thought it was physical. I thought the guys. I like both guys. It was okay for a minute or two, but I had a lot of bugaboos, and I just was disappointed the longer it went on. They haven't told a good story with the cell in years, but I was just more disappointed the longer it went on with no interference. At this point, I'm expecting Judgment Day to get involved. I'm expecting, we've been hearing stuff about Gangrel and all that. Like, I want to just see, let's just make this a spectacle if we're going to do it. And they didn't even do that. So I was like, okay, I can't. What are we doing? What are we doing here?
Yeah. Remember back in the Attitude Era heyday when you had like Big Boss Man and Undertaker and it was like the worst Hell in a Cell ever? That was better than this match to me.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Except Gangrel didn't show up and noose Finn Balor and leave him hanging. That was a little wild. That was wild, wasn't it? Man, those are wild times. Those were wild times. So, 2 stars for me, 1 star for you. Let's get to the end. Main event, man. I'm not going to go through any other filler on the show. I think that was pretty much it anyway. Main event, Roman versus Cody. My favorite match of the show. my favorite match probably of the weekend by a little bit. It's like I said, that Rhea Charlotte was good, and that triple threat match was a lot better than it should have been. So it was probably my second or third. This was my favorite. Just, man, such a good match. This was classic wrestling to me. This was good story. I know it wasn't as much of a build up with them as, you know, like Sammy and all that, because Cody had been out until the Rumble because of the injury, and they were holding off for that. This was something that I still thought was done very well. Everybody in the entire place, I think everybody around the world just about, was thinking Cody was going to win. This is going to be his time, right? This is what he's here for. It's time for Roman to lose this belt. He's had it for 945 days at this point. An impressive feat. But we did not get that. With the help of Solo, who actually was ejected from the match for helping Roman earlier, came back out after a referee bump and Paul Heyman, or referee distraction by Paul Heyman. The referee bump happened earlier when the Usos came out to help, and then Sammy and Kevin got involved and got them out of there, and then did their finishers on Roman, which I thought was a really good spot, because that's when you thought that was going to be about the end, right? Great table spots, great everything, man. Great action all around, good storytelling, very tough match. These guys were maybe the only bugaboo I had about the match was there was a lot of finishers, a lot of close pins. I think that adds to the drama, but you can't have too many of them.
Yeah,
there's a lot, because in this day and age, they do have a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of kicking out. They're not finishes if you can kick out of them.
Right. I expect a few of those here and there nowadays, but sometimes they get a little overzealous with them.
Back in the day, that was just reserved for like Austin and The Rock. You know, they would only do that, and now everybody does it.
Yeah, and sometimes too many times a match, like multiple times a match. Back in the day, it might have been, you might have got The Rock kicking out of one stunner, maybe. Yeah. You know, maybe a second stunner.
Before he did a somersault cell in the second one.
Yes. Yeah, and the third one was he almost flew out of the ring, and then Austin had to drag him back over the middle and pin. So I will just start by saying that this is a 4 1/4 for me. Star match. Very good storytelling. Like I said, just a little bit better than that women's match, and better than that triple threat match. The crowd was so hot. This crowd was a big proponent in this match. They were super behind Cody. Just all the stars were aligned, and I got to tell you, man, it brought me back to a time as a fan that doesn't happen often at all. It brought me back to a time where I was legitimately mad about the outcome. Not understanding from all different angles, being mad that Roman won, being upset Cody lost, then as a mark not being, under, or smark, however you want to say it, being understanding of how the business works, and being like, what are they doing? This was Cody's moment. This is where else are you going to do it? The crowd was behind it. They're ready. It's one of those very few times in history, at least in recent history, where the crowd, the smart crowd, knew what was probably going to happen, was behind it, and didn't reject it. You know what I mean? Like they did in the past with Roman, like they did in the past with Daniel Bryan or Batista and all of them. They actually were behind this. They were ready. Now, from a business standpoint, and I've come around on this, from a business standpoint, I understand why they've done it. You don't want to get it too fast. You want to make some more money out of it. And it's very possible, as long as they do it right, and that's the big kicker here for me, is if they can do it right, they can do it. They can still do it justice, give Cody his moment, and the crowd will still be hot for it. But at the time, man, and it's very possible. At the time, I was like, there ain't going to be another shot. Like where are you going to do it? Because you don't.
For everybody
we
listening,
don't want it to
to
backlash.
this, for everybody listening to this, so we were all three texting each other back and forth. Brandon was so pissed at the outcome of this match. The next day, I actually trolled him with a Roman Reigns meme. Acknowledged me.
Yes. Yeah. I was, and dude, I'm gonna tell you, I gotta say this too. Roman Reigns is the best he's ever been. This is the best role he could have ever been in with Heyman and the Bloodline. His heel, he has really come into his own. He has really surpassed that level that I didn't know he had in him, or wasn't sure he had in him. I hope that he stays with this for a long time. I don't want him going back to face, or I just want him to be what he is now for a while. Now, I don't necessarily think he needs to have the title this long. I know that they're pushing for 1,000 days, and they're going to get it, and they're going to market it and make money off of that too. And that's a little annoying, but I get that too. But after that, we need to change it up a little bit. Maybe separate the belts, or maybe just still have one champion. That's cool with me too. Yeah. The thing is, at the time, I was like, oh my God, the stars are aligned. This is WrestleMania. The crowd's behind it. Is Cody ever going to have this moment with a crowd again? Is he? Yeah. Or
and you could hear the air come out of their lungs. You could literally hear the air come out of their lungs when that hand hit 3. It was wild.
Yeah.
And I thought, how ballsy. I actually kind of liked the ending because of how ballsy it was. Not for any good reason. It's just like, oh wow, that's interesting. Where they're going to take that?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was upset, because I don't disagree with you. It was ballsy, and it could potentially turn into something pretty great. But at the same time, I don't have a lot of confidence in them, and we'll talk about it even more, so
especially now.
Why now I feel that way? Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm just not confident that, because where are you going to get? Are you going to give Cody a match at Backlash, Money in the Bank, or are we going to wait till SummerSlam now? We got to wait till SummerSlam or next WrestleMania. I don't think it should be Survivor Series, because I don't think Survivor Series is as much as it's the Big Four. There's not been anything too special happen on Survivor Series in years,
And it's got to be Cody, because who else do you have?
Yeah, it needs to be Cody.
Anybody else built up?
So if you can maybe just keep giving him opportunities, 2 or 3 more opportunities between now and then, and cheat him out of it, or keep screwing him around, and that way, when the bloodline finally falls apart and nowhere left to run for Roman, he gets them, and he pins them, and he gets a clean win, no interference or whatever, and gets over that hurdle, and the crowd pops. Man, if that could happen for him in a big show, and not Saudi. I don't want Saudi involved. I don't want a small show. I want, now we're gonna have to wait till SummerSlam probably, and that's whatever. Yeah. But I think that'll give them plenty of time to build this back up and to get everybody sick of Roman and on Cody's. Now I don't know. It was just so frustrating at the time, and it still is a little bit, because I'm worried about the future of the show, of the company, of Cody, and not that they won't be around, but just, and then at the same end, if he would have won, then you'd be like, well, what now? You got his moment, and I get trying to draw things out for money.
I liken this to Lex Luger in the NWA back in the day. They had their next Hulk Hogan, or they had their first Hulk Hogan actually for the NWA. And so they thought, they put him in against Ric Flair. That first match, they call the match Because of Blood, the Athletic Commission or whatever. Like, what the heck? So they have a match at Starrcade, and he gets screwed out of the title again. And pretty soon you're like, Lex Luger can't do it. And so when he finally does win the title, like a year and a half later, it's like, oh well, what, he should have done it 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid.
That's the thing is too, and it's.
I'm afraid they're going to do that with Cody if they draw this out too long. Maybe even to SummerSlam.
That's what I'm afraid of. Well, and that's what I'm afraid of too, because and it's going to be a cop out to put it on at a show that's not as big as WrestleMania or SummerSlam. And this crowd, we don't have attention spans anymore. Like, this crowd does not. I hope for his sake and for everybody's sake that we can. and maybe it's possible, but I am very skeptical of the show and the crowd holding on long enough to give this to Cody in the right way, and it still means something and still be as explosive and as big as it would have been here. It's definitely ballsy.
Yeah,
I don't know whose call it was. You know, there's rumors that Vince McMahon was involved again in this one, and you could feel it at times. If it's, I could definitely see if it's true. It's, I don't know if this was his call or not. I do get it, man. I get the sake of drawing money, but man, this isn't the territories anymore, and this isn't the Attitude Era anymore. You're making money hand over fist because of your TV deals and your network Peacock deals, and now we're getting to get into this in a minute. You know, this buyout or merger or whatever. But what do you do with this crowd and this state of the business now? What did you give this as a rating?
Oh, 3 3/3. I think it was good.
3 3/4.
I think there was a little too much outside interference, and then Cody, whenever he's given that third crossroads to Roman, he had to sit there and wait. If you watch it again, he had to sit there and wait for Solo to come and spike. Yeah, there were some flaws. It was a pretty good match overall, though.
Yeah, I thought it was really good overall, but it still shocked the piss out of me.
I have one more thing to say about the whole situation before we go on to the next thing, though. You know, everybody, Roman and 1,000 days, or 3 years is more impressive to me, in this day and age.
Right.
But can you imagine back in 1982, Bob Backlund as the champion, fighting superstar Billy Graham or something? It's like, oh my gosh, Backlund's held the title for 1,723 days. They didn't care about that back then. They're making too big a deal out of it.
Yeah, they probably are. You're probably right. I think you just need to kind of go with the flow, and it's. I think you mentioned the other day when you watched Backlash too. Is that payoff at Backlash was bigger with the help of Steve Austin coming out, but also, which was such a good moment. That's a big reason why he didn't win at WrestleMania. Probably they just wanted to kind of hold off. I still just don't. It's just hard for me, I definitely have come around to it a little bit more in the last few days, sitting on it. It's just more at the moment I was mad, and I still am a little worried and skeptical. So we'll move on here real quick before we close out. We've got a couple things. This kind of brings us, because of the worry, this brings us to the news that came Monday morning. It actually came Sunday before the show, but was confirmed on Monday that Endeavor, who owns UFC, has agreed to purchase or merge. I don't exactly know what the real, how to say it. Have decided to basically gobble up WWE for, I guess, valued at $9.3 billion to create this new company that they haven't got I don't guess they've got an official name for, so they can market as a potential $21+ billion company, right? So now you've got sports entertainment, wrestling, combat sports, all this going to be under one big roof, and big deal, cool deal. I'm super glad they didn't sell to Disney or to Saudi.
Yeah.
If anybody's going to buy it, I'm super glad it's Endeavor. They're expected to close. A couple notes I had. They expect to close by the end of the year. Endeavor is set to own 51% of this of stake in this new company, and the existing shareholders of WWE that I am aware of will be the will control the remaining 49%. Ari Emanuel will be the chief executive of the company. Mark Shapiro will be president and CEO of the company. Vince McMahon, will return as executive chairman of the company. Nick Khan will be president of the wrestling business, and Dana White will remain president of the UFC. That's just a couple notes that I read out of that article. Anybody can find that pretty much anywhere online. So here's the thing. What does this mean? We don't know what this means. We don't know what the future of this company or any of this looks like. I mean, obviously they're here to stay. I don't think much will change in the way of the shows now. As far as the format, anyway, I don't think anything will change as far as programming. I don't know what this means for the Peacock deal later, or the network or any of the streaming stuff later, the old archives. Hopefully that doesn't go anywhere. But I don't know what they're going to do with that after this Peacock deal is done. My big question, well, one of my big questions now, is will pay-per-views return when that happens?
Yeah,
UFC are still running pay-per-views, so that's a big thing.
That's an interesting question.
And can pay-per-views, if they return, still give you will they still garner money for the company? Like, will people still buy in this state? And this kind of will merge with what I want to go with, the topic I want to discuss real quick next. With the state of the wrestling business today, with the state of everything, can you sell pay-per-views? Can you sell as many?
I think that answers yes. AEW's done it.
Yeah,
I think WWE's audience is a whole lot bigger. And I'm sad to see that go, because I don't watch a whole lot of it, but I still watch, like I said, Rumble and Mania, and some years I watch SummerSlam. So that'll be taken away if we'd have to have a party or something to watch it together. But yeah,
I'm not paying $6 by myself, that's for sure. Because it's not that good anymore. It's not good enough for me to spend that much money on it without a party. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what I'm kind of getting at. Is, will you draw the same amount of money? Because I think one would guess they were losing money on the streaming thing, but I think they got paid so much money to do it that I think that it didn't matter. But now if they go back to a format of I don't know.
I know that AEW was drawing like 100,000 buys, which is still pretty good for this day and age. Like the worst bought WrestleMania of all time was like what? 12 or so, or 13 or something. It was like 270,000. You just think how much a bigger deal the WWE is than AEW. I think they could at least hit that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think so. I mean, if they've probably got whatever idea they need to have for like a minimum of what they need to draw, and they probably won't have a problem doing that. It's just, oh man, it's hard to believe that they could really go back to that at this point. With they're going to have to. I still think they're going to need to put on a better product if they're going to want to do buy rates like that. If they want to, because see, when Endeavor took over UFC, they grew that company. Was it 40 or 60% or whatever? I can't remember the exact number. It was in that article. They grew UFC. Now, personally, I like UFC. I like combat sports. But I don't love it so much that I'm going to go spend $60 on a pay-per-view to watch a potential 1 minute fight. That's just how I am. There's going to be other people out there that are not like me. But I also just thinking about it with the wrestling, like, man, you don't have a product that's worth $50 or $60 a month to me. I'm sorry. Because I can barely get through your Raws. It's free. I can barely get you through your free shows. So, other than the big four, or at least the big 2 or 3, there ain't going to be a whole lot that I'm going to want to really put my money into anymore. And I want to, but I can't. So, I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see the state of the wrestling business today. Like we talked about it a little bit off and on, so I won't cover it too much. But it's not what it used to be. And, kayfabe being dead. I mean, you can still draw money. You still get a lot of crowds in there. They just don't have the talent, and even if they do have the talent, they're not doing what's right with the talent, I feel like. So I just don't think it's there anymore to get. You're definitely not, and they may not need to draw the numbers they did 20 years ago to be successful, but it's just crazy to look at numbers back then, not just ratings of Raw and SmackDown, but buy rates compared to now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Talking about
AEW is crazy low.
Yeah, talking about what they're doing with talent. I think from SummerSlam to WrestleMania, when Triple H was in charge, I think you started to see what they could do with stories. With Sami Zayn and KO and all those guys. And I'm afraid now with Vince McMahon back in control of creative, I mean, you saw it with WrestleMania. Here comes the money,
Yeah.
and Roman Reigns retaining.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's one last thing I wanted to touch on, that and the Raw real quick. I guess he supposedly had fingerprints all over Raw's rewrites. They just rewrote it, tore up script like he did the classic Vince McMahon thing. Man, we still don't 100% know until as we're recording. SmackDown is tonight. We're gonna see if he's got his grubby mitts on that, and if that's the case, then we'll probably have a good idea of what the company's going to be going forward. And if Triple H is out again, if he turns into another Bruce Pritchard and he's not running the show, there's already been reports, and this is all reports, you don't know. There's been reports of morale going down, but I can totally see that. If morale goes down, people are going to leave again, and they just got a few back. So they're going to leave again. We're going to have issues. We're going to have bad stories. We're going to have bad TV. And, not that it's been super great since Triple H took over, but it has been.
It's improved.
Michael Cole has hit a whole nother level that I never thought was possible. He's actually been entertaining on commentary most of the time. Morale's been great. It just shows you that it's time, as great as Vince McMahon was, as much as I appreciate everything he's done, it's time for him to go. It's time for him to step aside, at least step out of the creative side of things and not be a part of TV. He needs to just focus on growing that company and being that executive chairman and staying the hell out of the way. You go make your TV deals, go make whatever you need to make to help the show get on air, and then you leave Triple H and his boys who actually care about the business because if he's in control, he's gonna shit all over the guys Triple H is trying to bring up, and that brings Kevin Owens back to a comedy standpoint. Who knows what comes with Gunther? Some of the women who knows? Like, it's just, the only thing is it's overwhelmingly on the side of Vince needs to go, and that's just from fans. I guarantee you that's from most of the workers. He just,
at best, he needs to be an on-air personality.
At best, if he's going to be even close to that arena, he needs. Yeah, that's exactly what he needs to do. He does not need to, and he doesn't want to do that. That's fine, but he needs to stay the hell away from creative. He as far as we know, though, he's got final say. He may not write the show, but he will get final say. So it showed at Raw. The crowd was hot. That was about the hottest thing about Raw. They opened up with Roman and Cody, which was really good. Brock came out in a surprise appearance to help Cody in this tag match because of the stipulation. Cody wanted a rematch. Roman said no. He wanted at least a tag match because he was raring to go and he wanted to fight. He wanted Solo. He wanted Roman. The stipulation was, for people who haven't seen it, you find a partner, anybody who's willing to side with you, and you can have your tag match. But they have to be okay with never getting a title shot as long as Roman's champion. So then you're thinking, well, who's going to care enough? In my mind, still going Sammy or somebody, it's always going to be something like that. Out comes Brock. Big pop, big surprise. Even I was like, whoa, what the heck? I wasn't expecting that at all. He was the last person on my mind.
Yeah. And they had taken that away from him at SummerSlam.
Yeah. So you have a really kind of crap show. It's just kind of there's a few things with the bloodline and backstage area throughout the show that were decent. You see, I think you're starting to see a little distrust with Roman and the Usos. They lost the belts. Paul Heyman, on behalf of Roman, basically made them go back to the plane. That they weren't going to be needed in a nice way, but then he kind of went behind their backs and told Roman it's taken care of. And, even Roman starting to question Paul about, did you know Brock Lesnar was going to be here tonight? And Paul Heyman hamming it up. No, my tribal chief. And just great. Paulie's so great. Paul Heyman's amazing. Then you get to the match, and I'm going to skip the rest of Raw because I don't care. But you get to the final match. They get all their introductions out of the way. And Cody's the last introduction. And just as the crowd gets into it and he's soaking it in, he turns around, Brock hoists him up, F5s him. Just dumps him on his ass. And instead of being like a big, like, Roman and Brock are now in cahoots or because of Paul Heyman or whatever, Roman and Solo were shocked. Roman's like, what? He didn't even know what's going on. So he tapped on Solo and was like, let's get out of here. This ain't our business. We don't want to be a part of this. They head the back. And then Brock spends the next 5 minutes just beating the holy hell out of Cody. Now, I love Beast Brock. I love heel Brock. But I've had so much fun with Cowboy Face Brock this last year or half a year. Dude, it's like he was having fun. And he's like, man, it just seems so different. And I thought this was going to be good, but now we've got to, I guess now we're going to have a Cody and Brock package to hold off a little while. I don't know. Like, we'll see what happens, but I'm just really, really annoyed that we had to have this happen. I can understand having a good, big, strong heel in Brock because he's good at it, but I don't get it, man. I don't. It had Vince McMahon. My point is, it had Vince McMahon's grubby hands all over it. Is what it seemed like. It just seemed like the whole thing was Vince. And they had other plans apparently that were scrapped. I think LA Knight was supposed to show. There were supposed to be other things that just didn't happen. Just nothing. So
yeah,
you see why we're worried, even more so now. With that said, that's why we're going to probably go back to old school wrestling for a little bit. And, we might keep it updated on at least the Cody story. Because I am interested in that, but maybe the Usos and the Bloodline stuff. But other than that, I think we just go back to our original plan.
the way we think it's going to go, you might hear us talk about the current product around SummerSlam. If it goes the way we think it's going to go.
Unless something big happens before then, it's probably what it's going to be. So anyway, it's been a longer show. We had a lot to get through. Had a lot of fun. We'll definitely do some more wrestling, probably some old school wrestling. I think we're going to try Bash of the Beach 2000, which is another bad side of classic wrestling. We're going to talk
Prime
about
Russo.
Russo's WCW. Then you know what? Maybe we'll go back since you watched Backlash 2000. Maybe we'll talk about that after. Maybe we'll do something bad and something good, right?
Yeah.
So next week we'll have Kenny back, and we'll see where we're going to go. We'll definitely get Scream 2 and 3 talked about, get that back going. We need to get through that series and whatever else that may come up between that time. So any final thoughts on the show or anything, Andrew?
I thought WrestleMania night 1 was like a B-. I'd give night 2 a C+ maybe, with those two really strong matches in the middle and the end of the card. So it's the middle of the road WrestleMania. Yeah,
I agree. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say myself. All right, well, yeah, it's been fun. So we will close up shop for the day, and we will be back next time with some Scream talk and maybe some more old school wrestling. So until then, guys, we're going to sign off. We'll see you next time.